Gamoy gitako dorse daro Tanes gadis shimetasaru So what? Lendos, otos, kabos tanara Azge, so omori Nisimera, dara mano achara Dara mano achapo isede basama Shande zadrega kidas mudatsama Yano diretto biapo isede basama
Salam, Nenatu. Welcome to the first ever E.O.T.C youth group event. My name is Carmel and I'll be one of your hosts for today. We're very sorry for the slightly late start. As you may know, this association is established back in August 2022 by some of our parents who have interest in facilitating a cohesive environment for us to enjoy and share our common interests. The creation of this safe and sustainable environment provides opportunities for social, educational, emotional development of our generation and champion our identity and culture. I would like to express my personal appreciation to all our parents who have worked tirelessly to establish this noble initiative and organize today's event. Please stand to welcome Reverend Deraja as he welcomes us and blesses us with a prayer.
Good evening. I will do the prayer in Amharic and then the small chat in English. በስመ አብ ወወልድ ወመንፈስ ቅዱስ አሐዱ አምላክ። አቤቱ ጌታችን ኢየሱስ ክርስቶስ በሰላም ያስመሸን በሰላም ታሳድረን እንለምንሃለን። ሰላምና ፍቅሩን ለሁላችን አድልልን። ለሀገራችን ለወገኖቻችን የሚጠቅም ቅዱስ መንፈስን አብደህልን። በወጣቶቻችን ላይ አንተ አጋዥ እንድትሆን እንለምንሃለን። እችንም ሀገር እንድጠብቅልን እንማጸንሃለን። አባታችን ሆይ ብለን ቅዱስ ስምህን እንጠራለን። አባታችን ሆይ በሰማያት የምትኖር ስምህ ይቀደስ፣ መንግስትህ ትምጣ፣ ፈቃድህ በሰማይ እንደሆነች እንዲሁ በምድር ትሁን። የዕለት እንጀራችንን ስጠን ለዛሬ፣ በደላችንን ይቅር በለን እኛም የበደልን ይቅር እንደምንል፣ አቤቱ ወደ ፈተናም አታግባን ከክፉ ሁሉ አድነን እንጂ መንግስት ያንተ ናትና ኃይል፣ ክብር፣ ምስጋና ለዘላለሙ አሜን። እመቤታችን ቅድስት ድንግል ማርያም ሆይ በመልአኩ በቅዱስ ገብርኤል ሰላምታ ሰላም እንልሻለን። በሐሳብሽ ድንግል ነሽ፣ በስጋሽም ድንግል ነሽ። የአሸናፊ እግዚአብሔር እናት ሆይ ሰላምታ ላንቺ ይገባሻል። ከሴቶች ሁሉ ተለይተሽ አንቺ የተባረክሽ ነሽ፣ የማኅፀንሽም ፍሬ የተባረከ ነው። ጸጋን የተመላሽ ሆይ ደስ ይበልሽ፣ ልዑል እግዚአብሔር ከአንቺ ጋር ነውና ከተወደደው ልጅሽ ከጌታችን ከመድኃኒታችን ከኢየሱስ ክርስቶስ ዘንድ ይቅርታና ምሕረትን ለምኝልን ኃጢአታችንን ያስተሰርይልን ዘንድ ለዘላለሙ አሜን። ኦ እግዚእ ኢየሱስ ክርስቶስ ተወካፌ ንስሐ ስራ ኃጢአቴ ወኃጢአተ ኩሉ ሕዝብ ከማይሠራ ኃጢአት እግዚአብሔር ይፍታ። ቁጭ በሉ። have a seat. While she puts the presentations on, which I'll probably be spending not long, just a couple of minutes, probably 10 minutes I think. I was given 10 minutes to talk. I'll say good evening to everybody again. It's very nice to see you. What I want to cover really is about identity, what it means to be an Ethiopian and the challenges that we kind of face in the world. One of the things that we see is as people we like to get together and then we need to be communicated, we need to be circulated because we're not really an individual person. So you can see a presentation here if it comes up, but we're not an individual or a person that's basically isolated. And we read it from the Bible. This we see from the Bible, even the quote itself. So this is the just on the next slide. So as it says in human beings are not an isolated beings. We need people around us and we need to gather together. And we get this quote from the Bible in itself because the Bible is, in Genesis 2:18, it tells us that a man should not be alone, but he needs someone else to be with him. Because I'm sure you all know used to histories and so on, Bible studies. Adam was created, but he shouldn't be alone. So helper was created with him and be multiplied and be fruitful. That was a commandment given to Adam and Eve. So as human beings, we need to be connected. And the good thing is we are connected in many ways, various ways. Some of us are through cultures, our culture that puts us together, who we are. We may be in a bigger culture and a smaller culture, but that keeps us as a group connected together. Our faith is another thing that connects us. We may have the same culture, we also have different faiths in between each one of us, but we need to be able to connect through that. Another one is idols, our ideas, our principles, that individual we have, but that comes in through various ways. Your parents, the society that you're in, the cultures that are around you, your faith puts those ideas into you. I'm sure as in Ethiopia, you all have that pressure from your parents. I want you to be this, I want you to be that. And that kind of puts partly pressure on us, but partly an idea that goes on forward with our minds. Our beliefs and other factors that actually also play on our lives. So this is kind of important, finding what we are, what's our culture, what's our belief, where do I fit into this society? And the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church youth group, which this was called, I know they use the Ethiopian Orthodox Church because that's one community, that's one faith, which is partly the belief and the faith part of that deals with the Ethiopian Orthodox side of things, and that's why the group is called under that name. But within this journey, or with this idea we have, sometimes we get lost and we don't know where we're going. We don't really understand it, because when we were young, our parents used to take us to various places, events, families, churches, and so on. But then we kind of get lost. There's also pressure from schools and education places or your friends, because then you don't know where you belong to. It actually says never really know yourself, because when you're a certain age, you're really not sure. I'm in England, there's people surrounding me, they're different culture, they have their own culture, but what about my culture? So I don't really know where I belong and where I fit. Changing mindset and worldview. And this does happen sometimes through an event. You used to go to a certain place and then something happened in life and then you drifted from that. Now, in your case, I could tell you one example that would be changing to your environment. What is that? Going to university. Or when you're out from home, you're no longer connected to that part of your life that your family used to take you, and the connection that you have isn't there anymore because you're out. And now you're faced with a different environment. And that environment challenges your beliefs, your faith, and the ideas that you have, it gets challenged. And the problem is you don't know how to counter that because there was not enough information given to you, there's not enough community that supports you to actually take you to that challenge. And that is one of the problems we tend to see. And sometimes you lost interest. Yes, I liked it when I was young, but I'm no longer interested in it. Because I don't really understand it, I can't be bothered with this, and you move forward. Various reasons that we tend to be lost through our times. Now, I could tell you this, because I came in this country when I was young. I was only 14 when I first came here. Now, unlike you, who's actually grown up here, most of you, and born here and so on, but for me, it was coming to a different country with a different, completely no knowledge of what England was like. Didn't know the language, didn't know the place, didn't know their culture, their belief. So I was brought up in Ethiopia, full Ethiopian culture with Ethiopian faith and so on. But coming here, the challenge was different. School was a different life. They used to take a mick out of your language because you didn't know how to speak English, and your faith was challenged because you no longer have that place to pray. Because the church was there, but I was young, so I couldn't go to the church every day as I used to back home. So there's a lot of challenges that I face, and you try to fit in. And the problem to fit in is what? Is to drop what you have. To say, I no longer don't want to be part of this, but I need to fit with what they have. And that's the way that way I don't get cursed, I don't get smicked, and so on. But there's that problem, because as soon as you start losing there, then you don't have an identity anymore. You're lost. So as you grow, you're not sure which direction you're gonna go. So it was very hard to find your roots and finding it and where do I belong and so on. The good thing is, there is nowadays at least, you've got your parents, you've got communities, you've got faith places. The community is growing a little more. When I was came, there's not a lot of people was around, but now you have a lot of community like yourselves. So finding yourself back to where you belong is not that as hard. The only thing is it takes a courage, it takes yourself to say, actually, I need to know what it is. And one of them is understanding where you belong, who you are, where you came from, and what was the history behind it. So one of the things to do is understanding Ethiopian history. That gives you the power to say, no one could actually take a mick or joke over you, because you actually know what to be Ethiopian is. The history behind it, what builds it. I'm sure you all heard how many thousands of years Ethiopian history is. And you may actually challenge to say, actually the other countries also have thousands of history. Yes, they do. but do you actually understand yours? Instead of challenging someone else's, do you understand what that thousands of history is? And at least not all of it. I'm just proud to be Ethiopian, even now these days. It's a single country, right, that hasn't been colonized by anyone in the West. And no, the whole of Africa was been a colony. Ethiopia has been isolated. You should understand that, why that is. What was the courage behind those, our fathers, to defend that country and kept it not to be colonized by the West? And that's just a tiny bit of the history. So some of the pictures that you see here, Theodros, Minilik, they actually, these are the times that we remember. If you go back 1,000 years, you could see the history for them. Another thing is obviously visiting back home. Okay, also I'm sure your parents take you there and so on. But now you have the opportunity to go by yourself, because you're kind of a certain age and older, to actually go and visit. It's a big difference understanding what you read in a book and seeing the place. What's funny was the Europeans actually read about Ethiopia, but when they go back home and see the country, it's a different experience, because they actually think, oh, actually, I didn't know Ethiopia was like this, because the books could only tell you a certain amount. So try to find yourself what it means to be Ethiopian, what the country is like. Other things are practice, rituals. Now, as an Orthodox church, there's a lot of events the church does, including Ethiopian Church. Every day is dedicated for a saint. I'm sure you all know. My daughter always tells me that. She said, you have a day for every day. Where else is going to fit? When can we celebrate anything else? But the church has everyday celebration. Forget each day. The larger ones is for you to come in and to be participate. Meskel, the Timkat, these are biggest celebrations. And also to be engaged in the community of the church. That the church is there for you. Now, I'll tell you one of the challenges it has. The church in itself has a challenge, which is the language and the service we give. Because for you to stand 2 hours in the church, it's off. I can't understand it. But unless you come in, engage with us, and communicate with us and understood it, the church will not going to change. And it's not planning to change, but at least it will give you the sight what it means to come to the church. What is the purpose of the church? You don't have to come 2.5 hours initially. Start slow and then get engaged. It's not just the prayer part, but also the community that's within the church. These days, the largest church you will find it in the communities is the churches, the Ethiopian Orthodox churches. Each church has a lot of hundreds of people in there, so you can actually engage with them. The other one is Mahabar. I'm sure you all heard of Mahabar, right? Anyone hasn't heard of what Mahabar is? No? So you all heard of Mahabar. Mahabar is your mom and dad takes you where they get together on monthly celebration and so on. So I would suggest attend to those, because they are also partly for you. So you take ownership. You see the culture, what it means to be a Mahabar, what is the food, what do they do, what do they talk, and that's quite important. And the main thing is it's not just participating in them, it's understanding why they're doing it. That's critical. And obviously participate in the community events, such as the Ethiopian community does events that they organize. There's also the sports events that organize, the music events they organize in annual events and New Year events. So participating are also partly for you. So you take ownership. You see the culture, what it means to be a Mahal, what is the food, what do they do, what do they talk, and that's quite important. And the main thing is it's not just participating in them, it's understanding why they're doing it. That's critical. And obviously participate in the community events, such as the Ethiopian community does events that they organize. There's also the sports events that organize, the music events they organize in annual events and New Year events.
And good evening. Hi, my name is Elshi. I've already been introduced, and thank you for inviting me to talk here today. When I was told to have a talk today, I was thinking what I was going to talk about. Now, I don't have a PowerPoint, and that's probably because all my pictures are very gory and of surgery and probably make everyone feel very sick. So I was just going to talk. And I think in the context of us all meeting today, I thought to myself, how can I kind of emphasize the importance of community, including our community in what I do in healthcare? And actually, community in healthcare is basically healthcare. That's what it is. It's us all working together to make people better and to look after people. And I have a little story about the importance of community and our community in healthcare. The privilege of my work is that I get to operate on and look after people from all over the world, whether they're rich, poor, from everywhere. I've looked after famous people, homeless people, people from everywhere, and that's including people from Ethiopia too. And actually, just coming off the Reverend's talk, even though I was born here, I feel a very strong sense of community to my own country, obviously being from Ethiopia. And when I meet patients who are from our country, it's the littlest things that make the biggest difference to their care. It's not the fact that I know this or know that, and it's not the fact that we've done this operation or not done this operation. It's the small things like me understanding their culture, their language, where they're from, or where we're from. And it's those little things that make the biggest difference to their lives, especially their time in hospital when I'm looking after them. And I think this is a good way of emphasizing how important it is for us all to be a community and to be together. I don't work with many people from Ethiopia. I've not worked with that many people from Ethiopia, but a lot of my patients are. And I've worked with people from all over the world. But I think that's a small story that emphasizes how important it is, because actually, when they look back on their care, the biggest thing that matters to them is that I was from where they're from, and I spoke their language and I understood what they were saying. I think us seeing everybody all here together today is amazing, and I think this kind of initiative and these kinds of things are so important to keep our identity strong, and to keep our health and mental health strong as well, because these are the kinds of things that matter. It's our communities that matter. That is actually improves our health. It's not the things that we do and all the interventions that we do, even though they are pretty good at helping and saving life. It's those little things that make such a big difference, and I can't emphasize how much community and how much us getting together is such a big deal in improving the health and well-being of our own people, because at the end of the day, health is wealth, and I have such a privilege to be involved in people's lives and stories, including people from my own country. I've looked after people I'm related to, I've looked after family, and been through a lot, and in these kinds of things, this is what, every time it goes back to the same thing. It's never ever, literally never the interventions that we do. Of course, those things are amazing. It's the small things like being together, being a community, and learning from each other. And I think those are one of the things, one of the reasons why I even wanted to go into healthcare in the first place, from when I was a very young child. If you've known me from when I was young, it's what I've always wanted to do my whole life. And one of the reasons was because I wanted to improve the health and well-being of my own people. Despite being born here, and sometimes, yes, it is so easy to have an identity crisis growing up in the UK, but thankfully, because of my parents and my cousins, they instilled such a strong kind of identity in me, and I feel very strongly in my Ethiopian identity. And I think that translates into my work as well, which I'll continue to do. And I think in the future would love to be involved in kind of surgical practice back home, and I think that that's an important part of doing what we do here as well, and that will be something that I'll definitely want to do in the future. Little things like involving and learning more about research as well, which is what I'm doing at the moment, and applying that to our communities as well and how that affects our communities. It makes the biggest difference, and I just wanted to emphasize that. It's just the small things. It doesn't have to be big things. Small things like this make such a massive difference. And it's a very short talk, because a lot of the things that happens at work are very confidential, so I can't regale you all the interesting stories and things I've done. But I hope that that's kind of instilled something in you today, just having a think about the fact that in all the work I've done, it's those kinds of things that have brought me back and given me a sense of self, given me kind of inspiration to myself, because it's actually really my patience and my work that inspires me to continue going every day despite the difficult work we do, especially my patients that are from Ethiopia, because I really have such a strong connection to my country. I know that there's a few people that are probably medical in the audience, I'm sure, and I really feel strongly about supporting the community and young people like myself and everybody here to do what they want to do. It doesn't have to be medicine. I know our parents are like, be a doctor, be an engineer, but I feel very strongly about using things like education to improve our communities and improve our care for one another. So if anybody's interested in medicine or interested in research or interested in surgery, then I'm more than happy to be involved and help with anything you ever need, or anybody you know that wants to, I'm more than happy to, because I truly believe in uplifting each other, and that's what we really need to do as a community. And health is wealth, so keep yourself healthy, and that's what I'm here to help you to do. So that's it for me, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Hamidai. Now I'll be introducing our last guest, Dr. Ariane. Ethiopia and moved to the UK at the age of 6. Ermias has over a decade of experience in the public and private sector. Ermias is currently a project client leader in an engineering company in the UK, working in transport and infrastructure projects. During the sabbatical period, he formed a civil service role in the Department for Transport. In July 2019 to May 2020, he worked in Ethiopia as an advisor in the Ministry of Finance on the homegrown economic reforms and national rail sector reforms. He resumed his work in Ethiopia with Grant Thornton in January 2021 as the Business Development Manager. He later joined the World Bank in August 2021 on a short-term consultant role, continuing his work on rail sector reforms, and published an internal World Bank report on private sector development in the rail sector of Ethiopia. Ermias has worked in various roles, including policy, finance, and project delivery in the UK. His doctoral thesis, completed in 2011, focused on a transactional cost economics, applying it to the defence acquisition system in the UK. Ermias is a member and has a professional project management certificate with the Association for Project Management in the UK. Ermias holds a Master's in Business and a Bachelor Honours degree in Physics with Business and Management. Ermias has a strong connection to his place of birth and has volunteered in many UK-based Ethiopian community organisations. This includes previous roles as Chair of the Ethiopian Association for Students and Youth in the UK, founding member of the Ethiopian Doctoral and Masters Association, Chair of the Ethiopian Community in Britain, and co-founder of Ethiopian Next Generation. Now I'm pleased to invite Dr. Ermias to give us a short inspirational talk that we will all be inspired by.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you for the organizers for having this amazing event. So you've pretty much covered my first slide, so I won't have to say too much about that. Maybe just focus on a few key points. So having been born in Ethiopia, having come here when I was 7, I would technically be known as a first generation, but because my father was here before me and my grandmother before him, they had this term called the 1.5 generation. So almost like you guys did not quite. So one of the key moments I would say that made me decide to go back to Ethiopia is when I went to Ethiopia for a World Freedom Press Day in Ethiopia. It was a good experience, which I would be happy to tell you about another time. I got to work with some great organizations, but more than that, I got to meet my wife in Ethiopia, and I got married in January. So I was able to get something very precious from Ethiopia, and now I'm back here working with an engineering firm, Atkins. If there's any engineers or any project managers or anyone interested in consultancy, do let me know. We do internships, so I'll be happy to help out. So, one of the topics I wanted to cover is identity. Gessis has covered that quite a bit, but from a perspective of having grown up here from a young age, there's a lot of things which identity can bring about, and as Dr. El Shaddai said, you can have an identity crisis. I lived from the age of 18 outside of London for about 13 years, so I didn't get to see Ethiopians as much. So that was quite a challenge. I lived all over the UK. I lived in Glasgow for 9 months. I lived in Bristol. At times I was the only black person, let alone Ethiopian person. I was in an office of 600 people in Glasgow where I was the only black person. So there's a challenge in how people see you and how you identify yourself. Identity is about how you identify yourself, what you stand for, what you are, what you believe you are. So there are a number of questions. Are you Ethiopian? Are you British? Are you both? I put this little picture up of Trevor Noah where he talked about, funnily enough, the French football team and how pretty much all 11 players were from other identities, other countries, African countries or other European countries. And he had a bit of an argument about that with the French ambassador in the US. But his question is, why can't you be both? A lot of you were born here. Why can't you be both Ethiopian and both British? And that's something that is up to you. Question of our race, what we stand for as a country, that has historical background to it. Colorism is something that I'm sure a lot of you young people might know more than your parents do. Johanna De La Portas wrote a really nice blog about it. I've put that in my reference, so you can have a look at that. There's different, you're multicultural, you have different cultures which you bring. You have your British culture, you have your Ethiopian culture. Some of you might have other backgrounds that you bring to your identity. And of course, within our community, we have lots of people who are multiracial, from other backgrounds as well. Your Christian identity is something that you might identify yourself as, or being Orthodox. That's quite challenging these days in the UK. They did a census recently, and for the first time, there's less than half the people in this country identify as Christian. Ethnicity is a part of an identity, and that's quite interesting in Ethiopia in terms of the politics behind that. But that's something for another day. And what kind of identity do you have in the UK? Are you a Londoner? A lot of you are Londoners. You probably have London accents. You've grown up here. Have you been outside? A lot of you go to university, maybe have gone outside for university. I lived in Manchester for 11 years. So can I call myself a Mancunian? Probably not. So moving on from identity, I wanted to cover something on social media. This was an interesting thing because I worked as a principal in Ethiopia for 6 months, and it's interesting to see how the students there are no different from you in terms of how they use social media, how they interact. And social media can have its own challenges. It can have positives. So, for example, my sister-in-law, she has a business on Instagram and she uses it to grow her business. I used it for politics. Whether that's positive is debatable, but that's what I felt I could really engage with young people who didn't know about the politics of Ethiopia. So I was able to use Instagram to connect with those people. But there is a lot of anxiety that comes from using social media. How often we use social media, what we see in social media. Sometimes it can be brainwashing. You get pushed the same thing, these celebrities or what looks attractive is pushed towards you, and that can consume you. How often, I remember when I had Instagram, the first thing I did when I woke up was check my Instagram feed. And it really can have a mental impact on you, and it can have a negative impact on you. So it's really about control. Now I got rid of my social medias, but that's maybe an extreme way to go about it. But it's really, for me, it's changed the way I use my time, changed the headspace that I have to be able to focus on things which are important for me. But I just want you all to be really focused on how you use social media and how to get the most positive out of it and avoid the negativity. So El Shaddai has talked about community a bit. I've been, you use it in the community for quite a while, but I've also been involved in organizing events. That you can see in the top right-hand corner. Do you know who Lemon Sisai is? Put your hands up if you know Lemon Sisai. Yeah, quite a few of you. Lemon Sisai is a poet of Ethiopian origin. He was the Chancellor of the University of Manchester. A very interesting background to his story. Google him and have a look. But we were able to get him in this event where we had about 300 people. And as well as Lemon, we had Ida Edemariam, who's a Guardian journalist, but also wrote a book about herself and her family. And we had some young people, another Ida Getachew, some of you might know her. She wrote a book when she was 12 years old. So that's pretty impressive. So, we've done a lot of other events. We did an event which was quite popular with people your age, where we had some musicians and lots of dancing and lots of similar to this kind of organization. And what I want to do is I want to tell you to, really try to get involved in this. You might just go away today and forget about this and carry on with your university or A-levels. But this is the kind of thing which change has an impact. A sense of community and a sense of belonging, a sense of identity grounds you and allows you to share experiences with people who have the same background as you, who walk the same route. So I hope that you will use this opportunity and this organization will continue. I plan to go back to doing some more community stuff with February. So I hope I'll be able to work with you guys to do some events. And I wish you the best of luck on that. And that was my last slide. Who made my 10 minutes. Thank you very much. That's my LinkedIn. You can just search my name, my email. I'll give it out to the organizer, and you can also look at it yourself.
without our permission in a way, they've done a few things sneaky behind our back and created a game matching our current faces with our baby photos. So, some baby photos. Yeah, a bit of a shock. Yes, they've done a few things behind our back. It's all in the name of fun and competition as well. So there are 12 people whose baby photos and their current photos are going to come up on the PowerPoint, and what you'll have to do is to identify the baby photo and match it to their current photo's face. So you'll see that on the screen. You'll see their main photo and you'll see
Succession sikada mankadis argofa mankofa erogatas nena gakkano tashe guyatas ole kodozumas maganadis dombazages kasya daradis dele gabrielene chaqadis dizike kainaine nadesadis erogatas gode erogadu saudetas itsade erogatas gode erogui saudetas itsade Shella telo badis we ushe mazen kasya kadis nana tele sawajanda dis doma umalara dafradis ofa saulara doima tobadis siko demos koshar gajadis zalara basketo akterna siko sike satin otorna erogatas gode erogadu saudetas itade erogatas gode erogoi saudetas itade Chadorzenai, Zadara Cholo Wezanai, Ezra Drumalonai, Borota Sara Bokan, Chalonante Shelle Silera, Nena Kosher Goyodora, Moikita Kodorzedaru, Panis Gatsi Shinetazeru, Erogatas Gode, Erogatu Saudetas Itade, Erogatas Gode, Erogoi Saudetas Itade. Mazura Jamonai Taramolematis, Ujamatsu Sarashijadis, Gugetoshke so Majetatis. Mogiatu go with Burtamatis, Sabil goes around Saletadis, Zimbeto defense go gatis, Tilaloda Tumo Sarotatis, Poncho the Rendi Chambo Chugatis, Nishi Dizay, Nishamata, Eri Dizay, Eramata, Denda Shop, Eru.
ይቀጣል። Let's move one more time. Gee, what was that?
You said good for. How much was
What The first question is, who's most likely to miss church? I don't want any communication with your group. So
You know who it was. They know who it was. The only thing I lacked was the name. But then it wouldn't be fair because she wrote down top. That's not a name. So, I'm going to give you that point, well done. It was Aberdeen. I hope, by the way, the takeaway from this is I want all of you to take a photo to Ethiopia. That's your business, I said that to here. So, alright, we got yeah, it's all right. Alright, then what's happening with you? Alright, the next words.
Touch my thing, kill up the over by me, I want lack of back. She dance, you look good, your commando, and look to sleep. But she really don't very want to share me. I don't know what's up. I beg you, give me one puff. I'm on your side, I want you to put up. Are you call up, are you come up? I'm a call up, Mr. Money, you're out. I'm come out. Can't be found, I'm come out. Hello, wife, very sure. I'm there for you, you there for me. Jai Kenny Jeluto. You ma put up Pinocchio. Million Popo Kesi and Jojo. Animaya very ya photo. Olo follow Binu Ologo. You ma shebi Olodo. 1964 Latin Mokoko. I'm loaded. Oh, I'm loaded. Olo mi dead. My baby nobody dead. I'm loaded. Oh, I'm loaded. Olo mi dead. My baby nobody dead.
They want just one thing, they go learn lesson. Okolopo, I they carry festive.